This is our February Patreon episode, but it's going to go wide after it becomes a Patreon episode. And the two gentlemen here are the gentlemen who immortalized you, not once but twice. Wyatt Doyle and Jimmy Angelina, the authors of, I'm going to hold it up, because I don't have a fancy screen share like Wyatt does.
Yeah.
The Italian. See, it even has my name on it right there. Jimmy Angelina and Wyatt Doyle are the co-authors of this wonderful new book about Gilbert's favorite people, the Italians. He has such love in his heart. You guys know the show.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know how...
The abiding fondness. It really, It's
yeah, I talk about the Guineas all the time.
It's great. It makes me smile each time I hear a mention. Wonderful.
Yeah,
we worked in several Jews into the book as well, Gilbert.
Yes, I saw.
He went through the book.
But mine was like a glue in the book. Is mine and any other books?
Well, Gilbert, that is a very exclusive edition. That was an edition of 4. We were concerned that if we included it in the actual book, it might have a similar effect that we suspect the movie would have had, where it might have set back Jewish-Italian relations decades. But for our listeners, saw the movie.
For our listeners who are wondering, they put this insert into my edition and Gilbert's edition. So these are what, just 2 of 4 that exist?
That's right.
Well,
that's all we could risk getting out.
I understand. This is Gilbert's character. This is Gilbert in the movie Animal Crackers, which everybody saw in 2017.
Oh, yes. One day they're going to have to make a movie about the making of Animal Crackers, because I read something that there were like about 1,000 lawsuits going back and forth for years before somebody finally showed it somewhere. But it's had some really weird history to it.
These guys are hardcore to even know that you were in that.
Yes.
Yeah. And did your research bear out that was the only time he played an Italian? Is that why?
We were desperate to find Gilbert portraying an Italian.
It was beautiful when we found it. Actually, it was really a great moment.
Was that movie of the moment, not the film?
No. Was that movie released, Gilbert? And it had an all-star cast.
Sylvester Stallone was in it. Danny DeVito, a bunch of people.
Lots of Italians.
All-star cast.
Lots of Italians. Take us.
I don't mean to interrupt. Can I just say something before we start? Before things get crazy. I mean, from day one of this book project, we were thinking, if there's one place we hope we could appear and talk about this, I mean, the one show that we saw as a perfect storm of hosts and book and us, a show we love with so many favorite actors and movies in common. I mean, irresistible is the only word for it. And then when Piscopo didn't respond to our emails, we said, well, what about Gilbert and Frank?
Piscopo turns you down, huh?
Now, in movies and TV, Jews and Italians are usually interchangeable.
Yeah, that's funnily enough sort of what the genesis of this whole book was, because that was just a conversation we were having. Jews play a lot of Italians play Jews. It's never like Chico, never once in my, not the most nuanced portrayal of an Italian, but never once in my life.
How dare you say that?
I've never thought to myself, hey, it just feels very natural. And every single time, Jews play Italians and vice versa, it's just, it's right in the pocket somehow. So that sort of sparked, where we were going to go with this.
And
yeah,
so
I mean, the biggest Italian at one point was Henry Winkler.
That's right.
Who
did this podcast?
Bonjarelli.
Yeah. And then later, Rhea Perlman, was a big Italian.
That's right. Short list of guests on this show that were Jews, since Jimmy brought it up, that were Jews playing Italians. Jason Alexander we had here, who played George Costanza. Gilbert and I still haven't figured out why he was Italian.
The most Jewish family in the world were the Costanzas, with like Jerry Stiller
and Estelle Harris,
the other as the grand old Italian. And yeah, everyone, I always said everybody on the Seinfeld show were Jews pretending they weren't Jews.
Well,
Pretty much.
Stiller, of course, had some training as an Italian in one of our mutual favorites, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
Yes.
It's in the book. It's in the book.
Yeah.
Quick list. Brad Garrett played an Italian. He played Robert Barone. He was on with us. Eric Roberts, Paulie in The Pope of Greenwich Village. Not Italian.
Yes.
Gilbert already mentioned Arthur Fonzarelli. Gilbert, one of your favorite movies, Prince of the City. Treat Williams. Treat Williams playing Daniel Cielo, not Italian. And the only other one I found was Leguizamo playing Luigi in Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers definitely has some questionable Italians in that. Bob Hoskins, of course.
Yeah, it was a questionable movie altogether.
on the other hand, we had Alan Alda, Alfonso D'Abruzzo, who's played plenty of Jews.
Yeah.
And a wasp, lots of wasps too, like George Plimpton, who could be waspier. And Danny Aiello played Jack Ruby.
And Danny Aiello, also, he did that production, a stage production. What was it called? The storekeeper or the salesman? What was it? He played an Italian Jew.
Oh, I have no knowledge of this.
Yeah, what was the name of that thing? It was like very recent. It was a stage production, and he was an Italian Jew. Look it up.
I'll Google it while you talk to Wyatt and Jimmy.
As a matter of fact, when we had him on the show, he said the reason he wanted to play a Jew is because of all the Jews that play Italians.
Yeah, I will refer you to that episode because he's resentful about Italians not being cast as Italians.
Well, there's so much of that. It's right now, especially, it's such a hot button topic. Who can play which characters and ethnicities and such. And Jimmy might be able to give better voice to this than me, but we talked about the fact that of all the different characters, the Italians seem to complain the least about it. They have the fewest issues with it.
Well, I would put that down to our well-known sort of mellow temperament, not really vociferously.
Exactly. I'm with you, Jim.
Now, I remember Alan Alda. He was in a movie about a marriage, and he was the Jewish father. I think Molly Ringwald.
Betsy's Wedding.
Betsy's Wedding.
Yeah, Betsy's Wedding. He was a Jew in that.
He played a lot of Jews. I went through his wiki page, and I went through the whole cast list. Very few Italians. I'd like to point out before we move on, and we want you guys to tell us how you met and started collaborating in the first place. But we also had some Italians playing Italians on this podcast: Joe Mantegna, Dominic Chianese, Steve Buscemi, Joey Pants, and Mario Cantone. And hell, Gilbert himself. Gilbert, you played what in Bad Medicine? A Mexican?
Yes. Oh, and one time I was at a party or some event, and I ran into Tony Macente. And first question I asked him was, so how many times have you played Jews? This is true. and he just read me off a list of different stage productions and different movies where Tony Macente was a Jew. Musante.
Yeah,
was a Jew.
From The Incident, a movie. Do you guys know that movie with Martin Sheen?
Yeah.
Figured you would. How did you guys meet in the first place? We'll get into all three of the books, and I assume you both knew immediately that you shared common interests, common passions for films and character actors and such.
Yes and no. We actually met in college in Vermont, but we both remember that we met, and we remember we had one conversation at a party. Neither of us remembers what we talked about or anything. We reconnected. I have a publishing imprint called New Texture.
Sure.
And I put out books and music. And I was working on a music project for one of Jimmy's old bands. And so I reached out to Jimmy, hadn't talked to him since college, that one conversation. And in trying to get his approval for the music release, he said, "Oh, I've got some of these drawings." And we saw some drawings. Then it was just off to the races. We both definitely had a drawing from the same memory bank of movies and music and TV.
Right. And the first book, the first collaboration is the last coloring book with the cover. You see, Gilbert, the last detail?
Yes.
Which also gives its name to the title.
Yeah, and Nicholson played Hoffa.
Right.
True. Yeah.
But Hoffa wasn't Italian.
No.
Hoffa wasn't Italian?
No, German.
Irish, I think. German
Irish.
Oh.
Right.
We did squeeze in, we managed to squeeze in Pacino as Hoffa.
Right.
From The Irishman, because since he's not an Italian, we can include, the rules are very strict in that book. You're either an Italian who's not
tell us
playing
the
an
rules.
Italian, or you're a non-Italian playing an Italian. It's
okay.
No middle ground.
Al Pacino, I think, played a Jew about 3 times.
Yes.
He
At
was
least.
in this latest The Hunter.
He was in The Merchant of Venice, was he not?
That's right. So it's 4 times.
The biggest Jew in theater.
And he was also like a Jew. And I don't know if they ever actually said he was a Jew, but he was a comedy writer in one movie. So you just assume Jew.
Author?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's sort of
movie.
That's sort of based on Israel Horovitz, isn't it? So he's kind of playing him.
So Jew.
He played Lowell Bergman, a Jewish TV producer, for 60 Minutes in the movie The Insider.
That's right. And I guess he was a Jew in what was that? And Justice for All. You know, I assume lawyer.
I mean, our next book is going to be called The Jews of Al Pacino. I hope we can come back to talk about that.
Have you heard the Jews?
Yeah, have you heard the Jews? The Jews of Al Pacino.
I guess that's why they call them the Jews. I went to Jimmy's website, and Gilbert and I are flattered that you featured that video of us talking about you guys on the podcast.
We were floored.
What a nice surprise! I'll send it to Gilbert. That was really lovely, and you also drew us both, which we appreciated. But since
Robert De Niro's Irish too, right?
Yeah,
Italian,
I think so.
Irish.
Yeah.
He was a Jew, of course. He played Bernie Madoff.
Ace Rothstein in Casino.
Yeah, that's right. Abe Rothstein and
Rupert Pupkin.
Oh yeah.
He was also in what was that name? What was that movie where he's supposed to be Irving Thalberg?
Oh, The Last Tycoon.
Yes.
Right. And I think he's playing a Jewish character in that Blacklist movie called Guilty by Suspicion that Irwin Winkler made.
I think you're right.
Yeah. He's played his share of members of the tribe, Gilbert.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other book.
Yes.
The Jews of Pacino and De Niro. Wyatt, get started on that.
I know. You guys are really laying out quite a list for us.
Jimmy, because you brought up, or Wyatt brought up your band, and Gilbert will take special interest in this. Who was in your band and also your roommate for a time?
Peter Dinklage.
Which?
Peter Dinklage.
Oh, wow.
Was his roommate.
Jeez. He didn't take up much room, did he?
Well,
now, did you keep him in a dresser drawer?
He just slept by I'm not gonna.
Peter played the trumpet in your band?
He played the trumpet, and he sort of did I don't know how else to describe this other than that he did sort of a Flavor Flav type thing. So trumpet and Flavor Flav-ish sort of character.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a weird band. I mean, I think some people have somehow managed to find some of it and put it up on YouTube. So if you're
What was the name of the band?
Wizzy.
Wizzy.
It was the 90s.
Wizzy. There you go.
Did
Gilbert.
Peter Dinklage ever play in Italian?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
He has not yet stolen a role from Gilbert, although Billy Barty
Yes.
did.
Well, I was amused on the latest pod to hear Gilbert talk about the role he stole from Pete in the Elf animated.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
So that's
That's
good.
right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, we'll get to the Italian book, but let's talk about your first collaboration, which I held up a minute ago, and I'll do it again, The Last Coloring Book. And the title comes from The Last Detail, a favorite film of Gilbert's.
Yes.
Oh, and
By the way,
too. I mean,
why
the
a
idea
coloring
behind-
book?
The idea behind that book was Jimmy and I were talking about, we knew we wanted to work on a project together. And we started talking about like, well, what is something that uses a lot of illustration? And there was such a huge trend toward adult coloring books, which we had sort of mixed emotions about. But
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
yeah,
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
but for us personally. And so we started thinking, well, okay, if a coloring book for kids is like, here's a moment from whether it's a cartoon character or some kind of video game character, and it's like, what would a true adult coloring book be? I mean, the focus would probably be on the films of the 70s with a lot of very distraught middle-aged men sort of pondering things. So the exact opposite. So we said, let's do a coloring book of that, and let's make it not colorable at all. Let's make it as uncolorable as we can, so there's no mistaking our intentions. But we still heard from people who were coloring it, and
People actually colored it.
we got some photos by email with people who were coloring it, even though one of them, like we have Peter Lorre from Mad Love, where he's in the surgery. So you've got ghostly Peter Lorre with a white cap and a white smock, and we're like, color this, and people colored it. But mostly we were just trying to reflect just some memorable moments for us, some things that stayed with us, either little words of wisdom or words of terrible advice from other characters. And we just tried to squeeze in everybody that we really liked, tried to find a place for them.
Were you tempted to send it out with crayons?
We were tempted to send it out with melted crayons.
Gilbert, there's
was gonna be the idea.
podcast guest Dick Miller.
The great
The late, great Dick Miller. Podcast guest Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, right next to him, try the wine.
Yes.
Great Patrick McGee.
Patrick McGee. Who else you got in here? Another Patrick McGowan.
Another
now, what's interesting
shouty
about the first two books is you just have movie dialogue under the pictures. There's no key and there's no index to tell you who these people are. You have to be is that Mick Jagger in performance?
You got it. Turner.
Look at some of these, Gilbert. Mathau. I don't know the movie. Maybe
That's
Guess
Charlie
Laughing
Varrick.
Policeman.
Yeah, Charlie Varick.
Charlie Varick.
Yeah.
Ernest Borgnine. By the way, you're going to have to tell me what Borgnine Saturdays were. There's your guy, Steiger.
Yes.
You got to say,
Oh,
can I tell you a Steiger story?
No Way to Treat a Lady.
That No Way to Treat a Lady?
Yeah.
Look at
Gilbert
that.
spotted. Can I tell you a Steiger story?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so I worked for a time. I was a story editor for a company at Paramount called Neufeld Ramey Productions, Mace Neufeld, who actually just passed. And their whole thing was they had the Jack Ryan franchise at Paramount.
Right.
And that was pretty much all Paramount seemed like they were going to let us do. Every other idea. But Mace was still taking meetings and had so many contacts. So one day I was coming back from lunch, and coming out of Mace's office, I see Mace with Rod Steiger. This is late 90s. Now,
Wow.
I'm a Steiger fan. So Mace was usually very cordial about this stuff. And he said, Wyatt, come over here. I'd like you to meet Rod Steiger. And I'm a big Italian Western fan.
Okay.
So I said, oh, Mr. Steiger, this was not in any way facetious. This was sincere. I said, Mr. Steiger, I'm a huge fan of Duck You Sucker, his Sergio Leone picture.
Sure.
Steiger kind of regards me for a moment. I guess trying to see if I'm messing with him. And then he just explodes. Duck You Sucker? I made the pawnbroker. You want to talk about Duck You Sucker? He was so hard. It was not my intention to horrify him. But he was completely horrified that I could enjoy his James Coburn Western over his. He just sort of stormed off.
Gilbert would have given him all the pawnbroker talk he could have handled.
And someone else said that they one time met Steiger, and they said they did an imitation of him, and Steiger said, "Unless you could do an imitation of me as the pawnbroker, you do not do an imitation of me."
There you go. There you go. Here's a face for you, Gilbert. Don Calfa. Remember him?
Oh, yes.
Great
that actor. Calfa. Yeah, I'm just pulling these. I'm guessing on some of these.
Okay. Now, here's a Jew who played a Jew maybe 3 times in his life, and the rest was all Italians, I think. And that's Edward G. Robinson.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Because he was in King of the Messiah of Mott Street on whatchamacallit, Night Gallery.
Night Gallery.
And Dr. Ehrlich's Magic Bullet.
There you go.
And then one other one I can't think of, but all others were Italian. He was.
Quickly on these. These are Gilbert favorites. Gilbert Vincent Price.
Yes, he was always played the Italian.
Gilbert,
I belong to the mafia. Yes, I'm a mafia hitman. Oh, yes.
Gilbert, your man Ben Gazzara?
Yes.
Oh.
Ben Gazzara once got cast as a Jew in QB7.
Yep.
And they asked him, they said, "You're an Italian and you're playing a Jew." And Ben Gazzara said, "I'm a kosher Nostra."
For the record, he's in Be Italian. We worked him in for David Mamet film Heist,
which we'll pick up in a minute. But I do have to show Gilbert that Hervé is in the book. Gilbert.
In his royal finery.
What did you say?
I am going to have a rub out.
No, he's
not. I am a hitman.
He's not in the Italian book. He's in the first coloring book.
I think Hervé would be glad Tom Selleck isn't in that book.
Quickly, let me plug book 2.
Get all the pussy.
Did you hear the story that Mary Warrenoff told? I think it came from Tim Lucas at Video Watchdog, where when they were making that early Oliver Stone movie Seizure with Hervé and Mary Warrenoff, that at one point she was strolling around the grounds. I think it was somewhere in Canada in the winter, and she could hear just very softly a voice that sounded like Hervé calling to her. And here Hervé had gone out for a walk, had fallen into a hole on the property and could not climb out of it. And that apparently his form of dwarfism, I guess it was, he could not elevate his voice above a certain volume. So if she had not been passing by and heard him calling, he was singing. He was singing when she found him.
Wow.
She heard him singing, and they pulled him out. Otherwise, he probably would have died. He would have frozen to death. We would have been denied his music, his performances, because this was like 72 or something.
So he had to sing to save for his life?
She saved his life. They were an item, too, for a time, but she saved his life.
Mary Warrenoff was an item with Hervé Villechaize?
If you Google, there are actually some very appealing nudes that Hervé took of Mary online.
Good heavens.
Now, I
God bless
heard
him.
that Hervé Villechaize had his innards, all of his inside were like regular size, and that caused him a great deal of pain in his life. It was his body that was small, but all like the heart and lungs and everything were of a typical adult.
I've heard that too.
Yeah,
there's got to be a Gloria Swanson. The pictures got smaller line in there somewhere.
Just like that. What did you say, Jim?
I said I suffer from the reverse of that. My brain is actually like a 3-year-old child size.
When you list your inspirations?
Ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
I'm not going to get through this. Jim, when you talk about your inspirations, people like Fellini and Kubrick and Buñuel and Gilliam and artists like Mobius and Egon Schiele, how do they inform your art and your illustrations? Because then I want to bring up the sequel book, last coloring book on the left.
I think mostly just the clarity of their lines and the starkness and the sort of I think I like that sort of stuff that pop has sort of bolder lines and less abstracted.
You guys seem to have the same taste in some ways in films. The 70s keep coming back, and I think, Jimmy, it was you that said that they weren't bound by strictly box office concerns and corporate thinking. That it was Gilbert and I talk about 70s cinema on the show all the time. There you go, Gilbert. Speaking of Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah.
Oh.
In the second book. So
Okay,
you guys share inspirations.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, here's something that just popped into my head. What's an example of an Italian being an unconvincing Italian in a movie?
Where to begin?
Wait a minute. Do you mean a non-Italian?
Like an Italian actor who is unconvincing as an Italian in a movie.
Wow.
Not quite cutting it as an Italian.
That's a tough one.
Well, Jimmy and I have talked about, although I think I may be fonder of the movie than Jimmy. Married to the Mob is almost the Amos and Andy of Italian.
Oh yeah,
imitation.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Not that I hated it, but I didn't have as great a time with it maybe as you did. That's true.
Is there a single Italian in that movie? Dean Stockwell's not. Mercedes Ruehl isn't. Obviously, Michelle Pfeiffer is not.
Alec Baldwin is not.
Alec Baldwin is not. Our pal Matthew Modine, who we just had on the show. You guys should listen to that episode.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an amazing episode.
I'm glad you liked it. Not Italian. Aside from like second tier.
Chris Isaac is like the most Italian guy in that movie.
Chris Isaac? Speaking of the Modine episode, Oliver Reed, ladies and gentlemen.
That movie, what was that other film? Moonstruck.
Yeah.
Cher and William Hickey.
Yep.
William Hickey's not in Moonstruck.
He's not? Which
No.
one is he?
You're thinking of Prizzi's Honor, another one that
Prizzi's
has
Honor.
Prizzi's Honor.
multiple non-Italians portraying Italians. We've included that in the book because we've got Jack Nicholson as an Italian.
Charlie Partana.
Yeah, and John Randolph playing his father.
You couldn't be more Irish than John Randolph.
Now, I heard Nicholson turn down the part of Michael Corleone because he was an Italian.
Interesting. I haven't heard that.
I didn't
but I
know
heard
that.
so many people were up for that role. I'm sure there were some. That could have been a disaster so many times over.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys about the sequel. So the first book comes out, the last coloring book, and then you decide to do the last coloring book on the left. I'm terrible at holding these things up in front of the camera. That's better. The follow-up book. Was this one harder to do in some ways?
We had our cup runneth over. There are so many favorite actors and characters and movies that we love that we want to. I mean, part of the thing you mentioned at the book that the people aren't identified in the drawings.
Sure.
Part of that was we wanted the book. We like for our projects to be more engaging, where they kind of demand something of the reader. Where it's
Right,
like,
of
wait,
course.
what is this? Inspire people to talk about it, to powwow with other movie lovers, and ideally use it as a guide for a film festival of their own, where you could watch. Wait, I didn't remember that moment from this movie. Let's watch it again.
And Jim, what's the
all the
process? Wyatt picks the films and makes those kind of final decisions, and then you're just off to the races.
And I'm chained to the drawing table, and yeah.
But that goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy and I, it comes out of our conversations a lot of the time. Did you ever see this movie? No. Did you know this one played in Italian, or did you ever hear this line of dialogue when it came to the coloring books?
Sure. Here
Just
you go,
memorable moments.
Ernest Thesiger, Gil.
Oh.
It would be a
very
shame.
convincing Italian.
This isn't the Italian book. This is the second.
I'm Italian.
Here's another one of Gilbert's favorite movies, The King of Marvin Gardens, right?
Yes.
Scatman.
The dark Scatman, the dark side of Scatman's characters.
If anything, the people in the second book and the follow-up book are even more obscure. Tracy Walter. And what is this from? I didn't recognize it. This surgeon, it looks like Jack Albertson, but I don't think it's him. Is it Barnard Hughes?
From The Hospital.
Is it Barnard Hughes?
That's Barnard Hughes, and that's the second role that he has. He has two. The Hospital's a weird movie because he has two roles that are not meant to be the same character, from what I can tell.
Wow.
And that's when he blows up because they brought him the wrong goddamn Jesus Christ uterus. He sort of squeals, uterus.
Tracy Walter, Gilbert, you know that actor?
Yes.
Is that from Repo Man?
You got it.
Yeah.
You can't put any other thing over on you, Frank.
What's the Ray Milland? I love this piece of dialogue. I feel like a bag of dead mice.
Yeah.
What is this from? I didn't recognize it.
That is from Gold, starring Roger Moore.
Wow. I don't even know that picture.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Very odd movie.
There's some great ones in here.
And Bradford Dillman. Frank, you and I were talking about Bradford Dillman. There's a Bradford Dillman reference for you. He's in Gold with him.
We have to talk about Bradford Dillman. There's Karloff, Gil. Is this Targets?
Oh, Targets. Yeah, geez.
I'm an Italian.
Antipasto.
Oh, mamma mia. I'm Italian.
Definitely.
Karloff's roots are in the subcontinent, I believe. Isn't he of Indian descent?
He is indeed.
Yes, yeah, he's part Indian.
He is indeed. His brother Theodore.
I heard like a Karloff in person was dark skinned.
I feel like you can see a little of that in Targets.
Is this Ray Milland and the man with the X-ray eyes?
No, that is that is not of this earth.
Oh, that is not of this earth. Okay, see, I'm not infallible. Thank you for putting Trish Vanderveer in there for Papa.
We adore her, of course.
Right after the story where she's talking about how her fiance pooped on the bed. People should should see the movie. Okay, a couple of things about your guys and your backstory. There's Wyatt. There's some kind of Sandler and Young documentary, or did I dream this?
Yes, that is correct.
Because Tony was on this very podcast.
It was a thrill to hear him on there. A pal of mine I did some documentary work with, a fellow named Mark Leonard. This was years and years ago. We became sort of Sandler and Young fans via the 99-cent bins at local record stores.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we got to see if these guys are still alive, see if we can find them. And I think I tracked Ralph Young down via the Musicians Union. I think this was many, many years ago. And I think that's how I found him. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. He wasn't far. He was open to a visit. And Mark and I loaded up the camera and the boom mic and drove out and spent the day with him. And then and he was just amazing. He was so happy to.
We didn't get to meet Ralph.
He was a real sweetheart of a guy. Now, Tony, meanwhile, I was in Minneapolis, I think. So we couldn't get them together. But then they had never done a farewell concert. They stopped performing together. They still seemed to like each other, but they never had a real send-off. So it was as a fundraising event. They ended up having the Sandler and Young farewell concert,
right.
And they asked us to come and shoot it, which we did. But we didn't have time. Tony didn't really have time. It was so busy. We didn't get to interview Tony at the time. And then from there, unfortunately, Ralph's health started to decline.
Mm-hmm.
And we were planning to do a book together telling his story. And he was very excited about it. And unfortunately, he passed before we could even.
That's too bad. I think the concert is in Tony's new collection that he just released.
I'll have to check.
We did a Patreon episode. We did a short episode with him just a couple of months ago, just in December. He's still in Minneapolis, he spent years compiling all of the best Sandler and Young goodies, and he just put them all out. What was Borgnine Saturday? You were starting to talk about it.
Yeah, Borgnine Saturday. It was just a holiday that I established decades ago. Just because being raised a good Italian Catholic, there's Good Friday, and then there's Easter Sunday, and in between they sort of call it Holy Saturday. It doesn't really. It's the day that he was in the crypt, so it's not really. It was the kind of people just checking their watches, I guess. And I said, well, Borgnine's an amazing centurion in Jesus of Nazareth. Let's claim the day for him. And so we just started Borgnine Saturday, and I'd have events for Borgnine to celebrate
Borgnine Saturday, Gilbert.
Now, what nationality was Borgnine?
Part Italian.
He was Italian. His real last name is
Oh,
Borgnino.
was he all Italian?
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed you have him in the book playing non-Italian.
Getting back to Sandler and Young,
an Amish guy.
Sandler said that Ralph Young, who decided to retire, and he immediately regretted it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I always found sad.
You hear some of those later Sandler and Young recordings, and some of them, these are the ones that have circulated on CD more in greater availability. A lot of those tracks, or many of those tracks, are clearly just Ralph. They're not doing the blend of voices. So I think that they were, I think Ralph was still recording solo, and just they were being released as Sandler and Young recordings on budget compilations and things. So, but by the way, did you guys know that Ralph Young sang the theme song to Nude on the Moon?
Can't say I did.
Well, it's worth hearing.
Nude on the Moon. Gilbert, here's another famous movie character that wasn't Italian.
Oh, from Deliverance?
Yes.
I heard with him, that guy, that people would go to that area and they would see him and they'd get all excited and they'd say, "Can I have your autograph?" And he didn't know how to write.
Oy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The guy playing the harmonica or whatever. The
I know those weren't his hands playing, that they had.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
they were putting hands through under his armpits and.
Oh, yeah?
Correct.
Oh, so he couldn't do anything, this guy.
Is this Robert Loggia?
We can't do a book without Robert Loggia. That's because there are a few performers that are just standards in our work. You're going to see.
Let me read for our listeners the press release. First, there was the last coloring book, and then the last coloring book on the left. Groundbreaking collections that exploded the coloring book form and reconfigured it for film study and autobiography. Now, Jimmy Angelina and Wyatt Doyle, Italians both, proudly present Be Italian. Italians as cowboys, Italians as Jews, Italians as Italians married to Italians, Italians as Amish, that would be Borgnine, Space Italians, Italian Nixon, Frank Langella, Italians you didn't know were Italians, Italians who really aren't, plus Robert Loggia. So there's obviously a Robert Loggia thing going on.
I think you'll find certain people like Loggia and Borgnine and Sammy Davis. They keep coming back in our work.
They cast long shadows.
Yeah, there's Dean Stockwell, too. So we're speaking about Married to the Mob. We just lost him a bit ago. Jimmy, did you ever get any direct feedback from any of these subjects? Or were you ever inspired to kind of share them with them? I think some of these people have a sense of humor and would get a real kick out of this.
Yeah, it's about reaching. Who did we hear from, Jimmy? Anybody?
Well, John Amplis from the George Romero movie, Martin, was probably the first person we heard directly. He's really wonderful, sweet guy.
Uh-huh.
We heard from him directly, and that was great. And in the new book, Diane Franklin, heard back from her. That was really.
So you're not sending books to these people. You're just kind of there. It falls into their laps.
If it's somebody that we can't really reach, it's like I would love to send them to them, but most people are set up to avoid people like us.
Yeah, and Gilbert and I too.
Yeah. I just watching Stardust Memories again, it sort of made me like, oh yeah, these people are everybody's just constantly going, here's a book for you, here's this for you. So I think the gates are too high for us to reach some of them, and a lot of the people have passed, unfortunately.
Many of them, yeah.
There are definitely people we had hoped to put the book in the hands of, and then it's a process. These books take a long time to put together, and sometimes we lose people along the way.
Go ahead, Jim.
I would definitely like to do that as much as we can.
Well, I mean, a couple of the people you've had have been on our show, so if you want us to share them, I mean, Peter Fonda's gone, unfortunately. He's in one of the books.
Well, we were so excited about when Ron Liebman was on the show because we had Ron Liebman we were including him in the book, and we were very excited that a movie that Jimmy and I are both big fans of, Your 3 Minutes Are Up, a real obscure one with him and Beau Bridges.
I know it.
Really interesting movie, great kind of 70s vibe to it. It's not perfect, but it's definitely doesn't deserve to be as obscure as it is.
No,
right. But I mean, somebody like Dennis Christopher or Tracy Walter. I mean, I think if you sent them to them, they might get a kick out of it. I don't think Tracy Walter has probably any concept that he's been immortalized in a book. That there's a portrait of him.
And one person you have in your book, and it's a movie that's a favorite of mine, and that's After the Fox.
Oh,
where
yes.
Peter Sellers is an Italian filmmaker.
Fabrizi, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what rewatching After the Fox for the book. It's a much funnier movie than I remembered.
Yes. It's a
I
very,
feel like
and a great Burt Bacharach score.
Great theme song.
Your version especially.
Who is the fox? I am the fox. Who are you? I am me. Who is me? I am a thief. You cause your poor mother grief. So after the fox,
Any excuse.
into the hunt with chains and locks.
Gilbert,
have to get Graham Nash on there.
Oh, wonderful.
Gilbert could become could be a new Holly.
Gilbert, have you ever been approached to play an Italian?
Just Mario Zucchini.
That was it. Just Mario
The
Zucchini.
Enrico
That was the
Caruso
only
biopic.
time. The what?
Enrico Caruso biopic.
Yeah.
Gilbert, I've got maybe something right in your wheelhouse. All right, hear me out. Pixar's Balls with Gilbert Gottfried as the bocce ball, Chris Rock as the basketball, Tim McGraw as the baseball.
Pixar's Balls. That's hilarious. Gilbert, you'd make a great bocce ball. He's played a lot of inanimate objects. He was a smoke alarm. I think you were a toaster at one point, Gil?
Yeah, I was a smoke alarm, a toaster.
A car alarm?
Yes. Oh, a dog whistle.
I mean, these are just masterful performances that really.
Oh yeah. The Academy was asleep at the switch. Let's take a look. We got the Be Italian book here, which we're going to focus on for the moment. Wyatt, take us through. You prepared a little visual, audio visual.
Yeah,
display.
we can walk through. I mean, you tell me when you've had enough.
Gilbert, who's that?
Oh.
I'll give you a hint. I think her real name is Anna Maria Italiano.
Yeah.
Oh, is this Mel Brooks's wife?
Yes.
Yes.
That is actually from the Anne Bancroft is To Be or Not to Be, where she plays a Jew. She is Italian, but she's I believe a Polish Jew in To Be or Not to Be.
I think that's right.
All
there you
right.
go. So she's in the book.
Yep.
There we go. Abe Vigoda.
Abe Vigoda.
Abe Vigoda, not Italian at all. Not even a little bit Italian. Not even part Italian. Abe Vigoda.
What is Abe Vigoda? Was he a Jewish fella?
He was. Yep.
Gilbert eulogized. He roasted Abe Vigoda at his funeral.
It showed the sensitivity. I roasted Abe Vigoda right over his coffin.
There's
his daughter asked me to do it. And it got all over. It was one of those things that just took off. It was in like foreign newspapers.
A lot of foreign press reporting on Abe Vigoda's passing.
Oh, yeah.
He was great in The Godfather.
Yeah.
Are the slides coming through? That's not something I'm able to see.
We've got Abe Vigoda.
So it's just Abe Vigoda.
Yeah, take us to the next one. Abe was a lovely guy, by the way.
Oh,
That's Robin Williams in Munchausen?
yeah.
Very, very correct there. And is there a slide on the screen?
Yeah, we got Robin Williams up. And he played, what was his character?
He was the King of the Moon.
Right.
And he did not, this was Baron Munchausen, the Terry Gilliam film, and he did not, he did it as Ray D. Tuto.
Okay, so
he was not billed as Robin Williams. I don't know if that was contractual or
I got you.
Just came in and did a couple days.
This is Steve McQueen playing an Italian, which makes me laugh.
That is.
With Natalie Wood playing an Italian. Two Italians.
With Natalie Wood playing an Italian.
I'm going to try the slideshow, see if that's working. You guys tell me.
All right.
Anne Bancroft?
Nope. We already did Anne Bancroft, and we did Robin Williams, and we did Abe Vigoda.
Yeah. It's the problem is I can't see what you're seeing.
Well, we got Steve McQueen and Natalie Wood.
All right, let's try this one more way.
No expense has been spared.
No.
In putting this episode together technically.
Yeah, as you can see, I mean, I'm working from state-of-the-art equipment here myself.
Yes.
From the HQ. All right, let's give this a shot.
Oh, there's Tony Bennett. That's from the Oscar.
The Oscar, yeah, which is
it could only be from the Oscar on this podcast.
Well, isn't he playing a character with a what was his character's name?
It's Jaime Kelly, I think.
Jaime Gil.
It's a blistering performance.
Tony Bennett playing a character named Jaime.
It's a paint peeling off the walls performance.
I can die now.
Yeah, the Oscar is one of those jaw-dropping movies.
That's incredible.
What do we have here? Bogey.
Bogey as an Italian.
Funny thing about it is, when you figure how many times Bogart was a gangster, this is like one of the few times he was an Italian.
There
are no scenes of pasta making or anything like that, but his name is Italian, so that's good enough for us.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
This, I don't know if you guys will know her.
No, doesn't look familiar.
Wanders a little far afield. That's Florinda Balkan from a really great De Sica movie. She was Brazilian, playing an Italian.
Okay. Sonny Bono in Hairspray.
And I think
I got that one.
Yeah, well, the thing was, I mean, Jimmy and I are both big John Waters fans. And we were really poring over his films, desperately seeking an Italian.
Yeah.
It's a very.
I realized he's right there.
Yeah, there was Sonny.
Is there? Oh, there he is.
Borgnine
as an Amish man. That's a horror film. Was it Deadly Blessings or something?
He also played, they didn't call them Amish, but he was an Amish type cult leader in that. That was actually, this is Violent Saturday, an earlier movie.
I don't know that one.
Not Borgnine.
Oh, that's a good one.
Violent Saturday.
Not Borgnine Saturday,
yes.
Right. Oh, there's Lorraine Bracco.
Lorraine Bracco is one of our unicorns that we love so much in the book because we always like when it sort of starts piling up. So Lorraine Bracco is an Italian-American playing a Jew married to an Italian. So we could squeeze them in.
Played by a guy who isn't Italian, Ray Liotta.
Exactly.
Oh,
now,
the Balachi Papers. Bronson was Italian.
Yes, correct. A mustacheless Bronson in the Valachi Papers. Two of the leading non-Italian Italians.
Great.
Khan and Brando. I think Khan was offered Italian of the year Godfather came out or after. And he
Jewish.
had to tell them, I'm not at all Italian.
His parents were Jewish immigrants from Germany. Sonny Corleone.
Yeah.
This one was a real find.
It looks like Karloff, but it isn't.
It's Cagney.
Is that Cagney?
Oh, gee.
Cagney, again, like in a film within the film, Cagney is playing the Italian lover. They never even give him a name. They're just like, well, you're playing the Italian lover. And they dress him up in like this. He looks like he's in a French court somewhere.
Looks like Prince. Jimmy Cagney is an Italian. You might as well cast Pat O'Brien as an Italian. Go all the way.
Yeah.
Our old friend.
Timothy Carey.
Timothy Carey.
What's the movie?
Glory.
Clearly an
Paths
Irish.
of
Oh, is that
Glory.
Paths of Glory? Okay.
Playing a Frenchman. Italian playing a Frenchman in Paths of Glory. That's Margarita Caruso from Pasolini's Gospel According to Matthew. Italian playing a Jew, playing Mary, the Virgin Mary. Gilbert.
Oh, let me see if I recognize it.
Your favorite
the
actor.
father of one of your very favorite.
Your favorite actor's father.
Lon Chaney?
Yeah.
Lon Chaney playing an Italian.
Yeah, very convincingly.
There you go, Gil. You asked for Moonstruck before.
Cher, of course, Armenian, not at all Italian.
And some Native American blood, yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
She had the hit with it. I'm not entirely sure.
Mm.
She definitely had the hit.
Half-breed.
And of course, there's a Jew playing an Italian.
The ultimate for me.
Gilbert, that's the closest you're going to come, is if you get cast in that new Groucho movie as Chico.
That'd be fantastic.
Here's another one of our very special unicorns, and he's actually, well, we'll see if you guys recognize him.
Well, I think I said it before. It's Dennis Christopher in Breaking Away.
Yep.
But
He is Italian in real life, playing a non-Italian, pretending to be an Italian.
Who loves all things Italian.
Yeah.
Obsessive.
One of the crazy performances and crazy casting was Al Pacino and Bobby Deerfield, where he's supposed to be a total wasp. and it's like throughout the movie they're saying stuff to him like oh, would you like spaghetti? And he'd go, oh, spaghetti, what is that? And he's supposed to be like this, complete wasp, and you go, no, this he knows nothing about Italian.
I love that somebody cast Pacino in a Revolutionary War picture.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
In Revolution.
That froze his career for years, right? There was no Pacino until, I guess, Sea of Love after that.
I don't know. There was
a gap.
Definitely a slump. Joan Collins? I don't know the movie.
It's a terrible movie. That's one thing I will say about Be Italian. We don't love all the movies.
Okay. You were being driven by a different premise.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very silly Italian sex farce that she made in the 70s when she was basically appearing in just about anything and did a lot of overseas. But we're drawn to Ms. Collins, and so we tend to include her.
And Joan Collins was married to Anthony Newley, who was a Jew.
Very good.
Jew.
Very good,
Yes.
Gil. Can you stick to the topic, Italians?
Yes, I.
Willem Dafoe.
What kind of fool am I who never fell in love? You think that I'm the only one that I have been thinking of. Okay.
If you guys came here for an After the Fox, a rendition of After the Fox, and an impression of Anthony Newley, you're in luck.
We got him.
Wonderful.
So this is Willem Dafoe playing the director Pier Paolo Pasolini.
Oh my!
For our movie. Joe
These
D'Alessandro.
Beautiful drawings, by the way, Jim.
Thank you.
Jimmy's work is just amazing. Now, here's a movie we don't like, but we had to include it. This is from the film. It's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh,
The film version of 9, where he's essentially playing a Fellini stand-in.
yes.
And the musical 9, the Broadway, the film, both of them include a song, Be Italian, from which is where we took our title.
Very good. There you go, Gil.
That's a great old view.
Yeah.
That's a double whammy, Gil, because you get De Niro and you love the giant glasses.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
It's
ace.
nice.
when we knew we were going to include Casino, I said we have to get him at the end when he's wearing those giant Swifty glasses, because they just take over his entire face.
There's a thin line between that and Sid Dithers from SCTV. Did you over, did you flew?
Oh, wait a minute. I know this one. This is Dom DeLuise playing a Russian.
Don't tell
That's
me
correct.
Dom DeLuise is Italian.
Yep.
I would love to watch Gilbert pour through this book page by page and question the ethnic authenticity of everything.
It can be arranged. This is the 12 chairs, Gil.
That way we got to squeeze Mel Brooks and Dom DeLuise in. We're always thinking, like, how can we get the most bang for our buck?
There's another way.
Beautiful drawings.
Oh, thank you.
That's the one that's Heist.
Oh yeah, he wasn't an Italian in Heist with
No.
with Hackman, right?
Yep. Frank, I know
Kirk
you know
Douglas,
this movie.
the arrangement.
No, Frank's talked about this movie on the podcast.
Oh, God, is it the Brotherhood?
It is indeed.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he wasn't a very convinced. I mean, wonderful, love Kirk Douglas, but
Yeah. That isn't Italian yet.
I don't know. I'm not buying Kirk Douglas as an Italian any more than I'm buying Jimmy Cagney as an Italian, or Dom DeLuise as a Russian.
Well, with this movie, they tried to really shore up his Italianness by having him married to Irene Papas. Also not Italian.
What about it? What about when this one? I don't know.
This was this is an interesting.
That is, it's the movie. It's from the movie Pinheiro, about the author Miguel Pinheiro, and that is Giancarlo Esposito, who I always thought was Giancarlo Esposito, but no, he is Italian. He is Italian, and his family has a remarkable history in
Are
Italy.
you serious?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he
Wow.
pronounces it Esposito?
Yeah.
Well, he said he goes with Esposito since that's what most people say, but his real name would be pronounced Esposito.
Ah, boy, you learn things on this podcast.
In between the songs.
Yeah.
I learned stuff during the songs.
It's an educational show, Jim.
This is Passion of Joan of Arc, Maria Falconetti,
Falconetti, yeah.
Italian playing French.
Oh, well, of course, Tina.
Yeah.
What was her last name? I can't remember. Is that Robert Forster?
That is Robert Forster. That is Delta Force, in which he plays, what the heck is his name? Like Ahmad Rafael. He's like the Arabic terrorist. I tell you, that movie's got Chuck Norris, who's a plank of wood, Lee Marvin, who is about 5 steps from the grave when he made it. And I tell you, Forster gives it everything he's got.
Wonderful actor.
Always did. Yeah.
We tried to get him on the show. He wasn't well.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
He's a great
Yeah.
guy. I knew him a little, and he was a really sweet guy. In fact,
Huge
did you
fan.
guys see the news today? Frank Pesh passed away. Frank Pesh, who, of course, Jimmy and I are big fans of from his work with Lee Majors in Killer Fish from 78 or so. But
Killer Fish.
he's actually, his life was the basis of
That
29th
movie. Yeah,
Street.
the one that George Gallo made.
Very sweet movie. Yep,
Yeah. What
29th
is it
Street.
called? 39th Street?
29th.
29th Street. Yeah. With Aiello.
With Aiello, with Aiello's son.
Yeah, good movie.
Forgive
me for forgetting the
movie
title.
that kind of gets forgotten because it hasn't been available on home video for a while.
George Gallo, who wrote Midnight Run.
Yep. And Forster's in the wraparound sequence. This is Diane Franklin from Amityville Horror 2. She's a sweetheart. We're connected with her on Facebook. She
That's
really
great.
enjoyed the book.
You got me.
That's French actor Jean Gabin from the Italian. Oh, just went completely blank.
That's okay.
Okay, here's another unicorn.
Look at that.
So
Godfather 3.
close.
No?
It's actually from Untouchables, and it's another one that's a unicorn for us because it's Andy Garcia playing an Italian character who has changed his name so he wouldn't be considered Italian. It's a lot to ponder. Andy Garcia gives us a lot to think about.
Well, Gilbert's got it. I mean, he played an Italian at least twice.
Yep.
Is that Vinnie Gardenia?
Indeed it is. Little Shop of Horrors playing
Oh,
Mushnick.
yeah, of course. What's the matter with me? Little Shop of Horrors.
Gilbert, for you.
My boy Ben?
Benny Gazzara.
Yes.
That is
well,
from
I
the Spanish
told
Prisoner.
the movies he played Jews in.
Spanish Prisoner, one of his last.
Oh, Spanish Prisoner. I like that movie.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti.
Playing Harvey Picar.
Right. Another good picture.
Yeah.
American Splendor. Excellent picture.
Another show favorite.
The kangaroo is Italian.
Oh, is that Matilda?
Yeah.
Was that Elliot Gould's playing an Italian in this picture?
Yeah.
Well, his name is what? Bernie Bonelli, Jimmy?
Bernie
Something
Bonelli.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to give it to him just because it's Matilda. So we gave him a pass. That's Haji from Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, who adopts Chico Mark's delivery the entire film.
And why not?
So he's always like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, I was like, "Oh, I'm sure she's Italian." Of course, she's not at all. So.
Great performance.
Gilbert, when you played Zucchini, oh, that's my favorite. That's Heston as Michelangelo.
Yes,
That's the worst casting since Heston as a Mexican in Touch of Evil.
Yeah.
Take your pick. Or Sinatra playing a Mexican, or was he a Spaniard in that Stanley Kramer picture, The Pride and the Passion?
Oh,
You know this picture? Yeah. Boy, and not only was he not Italian, he was 2 feet taller than Michelangelo.
You guys recognize this
I do not. Gil?
this woman? That's
Oh.
Judy Holliday.
Oh, Judy Holliday.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in Full of Life.
Yes,
which
she
is
was a Jew.
actually, yes, and based on a John Fonte novel, another great Italian writer.
And that check pattern was a lot of fun to draw.
Oh, wow. Look at that. That must have been a chore.
Another just appalling casting.
Back to Super Mario Brothers.
I think he, in
What an actor, though.
interviews, he said that this was the biggest mistake of his career.
Yeah. And it's so
Super
good that
Mario.
they're making another one.
But
Yeah.
Leguizamo loved working with him.
Watching that movie is one of the biggest mistakes of an evening that I've ever.
Yes, it's not very good. But what an actor.
Oh, amazing! Acting.
That's Angelica Houston in Prizzi's Honor?
No, because in Prizzi's honor, we that's the other rule that we set for ourselves. We wouldn't have two.
Oh, you got
actors
Nicholson
from
in the book.
same movie.
Okay.
That's actually from The Witches,
The Witches.
where her background is impossible to discern, and just big Angelica Houston fans like to
Throw her in the book.
put our people in. Now here's a unlikely one. One of the silent geniuses.
Oh, I'm going to get, yeah.
Buster Keaton.
It's Keaton.
Yep.
It looked like Don Knotts for a second. It threw
I
me.
did. When the picture first came on, I thought it was Don.
They should have had, Don Knotts should have been in the Buster Keaton story, not Donald O'Connor.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
How did Don Knotts never do an Italian stereotype? in
I
his
don't know.
Things for Universal.
Real missed
When
opportunity.
did Keaton play an Italian, sir?
Funny thing happened on the way to the forum playing a Roman.
Oh, right, of course. Well, yeah. And Keitel in Mean Streets.
Main Streets it is. Yep.
That is an odd one.
The great Klaus Kinski
Oh,
as
unrecognizable.
Paganini.
Wow.
Of course. Yeah.
That was a passion project of his, and the movie is as insane as you might imagine Kinski's mind to be. It moves. I mean, you think there's walk and talks on TV. This thing just moves at a brisk clip, and you see Kinski and he's fucking women in a carriage, and out the window there are horses fucking, and then there are people yelling down. It's really an auteur's work.
He's an interesting actor.
You see it.
Interesting career. You did Ernie Kovacs.
Oh, yeah.
You did all these with what? A black Sharpie, Jim? What's your process?
I used to use expensive pens a long time ago until I realized what's the point, and I just use Sharpies, fine tipped Sharpies.
You know that actor, Gil?
Wait, not Burt Lancaster.
Yes, it is.
You got
Burt Lancaster. Oh, what movie was this?
The Leopard.
Oh, The Leopard.
Where he's playing a Sicilian.
There's
prince.
Langella as Tricky Dick.
Yeah.
Do you have before we Woody and everything you wanted to know about sex, right?
That's it.
Before you wrap up the slideshow, Wyatt, do you have? I am stumped.
Jimmy?
It's John Lennon in Magical Mystery.
Oh, yes.
Serving out the spaghetti.
Very good.
Ladling it out.
Looks like Liberace.
Yep.
Yeah.
Loved one. That's a trick with Lithgow in Buckaroo Banzai.
I love that movie.
Another one where he plays an alien inhabiting the body of an Italian, being portrayed by a non-Italian.
I should have recognized him. Before we wrap up the slideshow, Wyatt,
Yep.
There's Loggia and Scarface. What an actor. Gilbert, what a guest he would have been.
Oh, he would have been great.
Yeah, so many people were gone.
Did you see his performance in that Tim and Eric movie? He was hilarious.
No, but he strikes me as a funny guy, and I wish we had gotten him. Do you have the count? Do you have Mr. Lugosi to show Gilbert? Did you not look? Did you load that one? Sophia Loren.
They're alphabetical. There's Sophia. There he is.
There he is, Gilbert. What's the movie, Gil? We'll make this the last one.
It's this. Wow, it's one of those cheaper ones. It's not. What he had like a. Oh Christ, was he with a gorilla in this?
No gorilla in this. This is
the gorilla was Italian.
Yeah.
Which one was this?
You'll find out.
Which he did with Kay Kaiser.
With Peter Lorre and Boris Karloff.
They pop in at the
Kay Kaiser.
And I remember the ending of the movie is Kay Kaiser talking to the audience and saying, now, Bela Lugosi and Peter Lorre and Boris Karloff, they're just three nice guys.
Wild guess, does Ishka Bibble show up in that movie?
Oh, you better believe he does.
All right, Wyatt, we'll go back to the fantastic stuff, and I really applaud the illustration, Jim.
Thank you.
Beautiful. They're wonderful to look at. Look at the jewel in his turban. I'm going to take you guys out on something fun.
Yep.
I went to IMDb and I looked up something called actors you think are Italian but aren't.
Ah.
And you mentioned Rhea Perlman before. I never thought Rhea Perlman was Italian, but I guess some people perceived her to be.
I guess because Carla.
Can you pull us out of that, Wyatt?
Yep.
And there's Dean. When did Dino play a non-Italian?
Bells are ringing.
Oh, bells are ringing. Couple of quick names. Abe Vigoda was on the list. Olympia Dukakis we talked about. Why would anybody think Olympia Dukakis was Italian with that name?
Yeah, that's
the Greekest of names,
but Perlman's a very Italian.
Right, Rhea Perlman.
Yeah, that's right.
But these are ones that actually stump people. Lainey Kazan.
Yep.
She's actually Russian Ashkenazi, Gil. Anthony Quinn. I don't know why anybody would think Anthony.
We have
Quinn.
him in the book for La Strada.
Right,
Yeah.
of course. La Strada is one of his most famous parts. But he was Irish and Mexican.
Yeah.
Andrew Dice Clay. Not Italian.
Not Italian.
Hank Azaria, Gilbert. Not Italian.
Andrew Dice Clay has made a fortune from our people.
I know. And last but not, and Portia de Rossi, which is a real Italian name, but apparently It's not even her given name. Her name is Amanda Lee Rogers. She's from Australia with English and Jewish lineage, Gilbert.
Ah.
And this one really threw me and messed with my head. Ray Liotta. Not Italian.
When you want a great lead in a gangster picture,
what is
clearly you have to avoid the Italian.
He's Scottish.
Gee.
And he was adopted.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How about that?
And I'm getting a mental block because they say his name in Fort Fairlane, his real name.
Dice Clay?
Silverberg or
Dice? He's Andrew Clay Silverstein.
Silverstein, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now this will throw you 5 people who do have Italian ancestry. Bradley Cooper.
Right.
Gilbert
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston.
That is.
She's got Italian?
Bruce Springsteen.
Well, Jersey.
Cyndi Lauper. And Hulk Hogan.
Huh? Now,
And Gilbert Gottfried.
yes.
Of course. Yeah. Well, Mario Zucchini.
Yeah, Mario Zucchini. Come on.
The books are wonderful. And I want to thank you guys for immortalizing us.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
have it hung on my wall here someplace.
And what I take from this episode is Tony Bennett as Jaime. That's my favorite part.
But not Jaime the robot. Plug the website, guys. The various websites. Jimmy, your website, and we'll talk about New Texture too.
It's just jimmyangelina.com. And that's, yeah.
And everything is there. And people can find your drawings and press about the books too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And there's a fun, I'll direct our listeners, there's a fun video of me and Gilbert talking about you guys. And there are 2 illustrations of me and Gilbert.
I can say that Gilbert only seems slightly less baffled by our work this time than he did at our initial meeting.
Yeah. That's the way I am on every episode of this show.
He's got a steep learning curve. And plug New Texture, Wyatt, and sum it up for us. You work with the great Josh Allen Friedman on there.
Indeed. Josh Allen Friedman, he's one of our anchors.
Drew's brother.
Drew's older brother. And New Texture is basically an imprint. It's an artist-driven imprint. Deals with popular culture and fun stuff. I do a lot of pulp fiction reprints with my partner on that venture, Bob Dice. Really remarkable stuff. And then, of course, there's other novelists and the more visually oriented stuff that I do with Jimmy and photography. So newtexture.com will get you there. You can see all our books on the side of the website. But to be Italian, beitalianbook.com will take you to Be Italian. It'll take you to the 2 editions. We have a deluxe hardcover that we've signed. That's it there. That's a pricey one because it's worth it.
Mercedes Ruel in the back.
$49.95. And then we've got the soft cover.
Oh,
which is
a soft cover.
I think of it as the portable Be Italian. Yeah. And that's available for $16.95.
Once again, a book of people pretending to be Italian and Italians pretending not to be. And that
our hope is that it inspires lots of conversation and debate among Italians and their admirers.
Yeah. And every single drawing in that book and the other 2 books I did while listening to the podcast. So
you did.
You again for the podcast.
You know how to flatter a guy, Jim.
No, I love it.
I'll pick a random one here. The great Vincent Gardenia from Little Shop of Horrors. You sit down to do this. You lay it out in pencil, and then you go in with a Sharpie?
I don't. I have a sort of ridiculous way of doing it, which is I just kind of take the Sharpie and go at it, which, occasionally results in, some stuff that has to hit the garbage can. But
I love the Loggia. How long will one take you on average?
With Peter Lorre's Beast with 5 Fingers, which also had Robert Older in it, J. Carroll Nash is playing the most Chico Marx Italian.
He didn't make the book.
No, sadly, J. Carroll did not. Of course, I'm very fond of his later work with Lon Jr. in
Oh,
Dracula
yeah,
versus
yes.
Frankenstein, of course.
Oh my God, Frankenstein versus Dracula.
That's the one where apparently the set was there was no set. Where they were shooting was so cold that if you listen closely in some of J. Carrol Nash's dialogue, you can hear his dentures chattering.
Yes, and you could see that those dentures never fit him. It looked like he probably got him off a dead body and put him in his mouth.
Once again, Gil, I offer you Tony Bennett as Jaime.
Yes, that's my favorite part of this. Tony Bennett. This should have been a spin-off.
St. Patrick's Day is coming. Good time to think of Jaime Kelly.
How long will one illustration take, Jim? I was starting to ask you.
On average, I would guess around, because I'll do them straight through, I would say 3 to 4 hours.
Well, they're wonderful.
Thank you.
Really?
You.
I was stunned when at one point I asked Jimmy when we were prepping Be Italian, and I said, hey, let's do something different. Why don't you scan your pencils and then we'll have a copy of those along? And Jimmy's like, I don't do pencils. And I was like, what the hell? Like, you just go in there with a Sharpie? But
that's like doing the Times crossword puzzle in pen, man. That's ballsy.
I don't know, or just dumb. That's another spin on it. You know.
All right, so newtexture.com and jimmyangelina.com, and you guys are doing wonderful work, labors of love, very much like this show, and these books, and you could even get a cool bookmark with Anthony Quinn, who's not Italian.
Not at all.
It says on the back, Gilbert, you touch my book, I break your face.
Break your face.
I'm so proud that no stereotyping went on here, gentlemen.
No.
Take us out, Wyatt, because I saved this for last because Gilbert needs a porn story. You worked with the star of Devil and Miss Jones, Georgina Spelvin.
Excellent.
I did, Georgina Spelvin. It's just a testament to the power of social media, I guess. I was starting New Texture at the time. I had Josh Allen Friedman on board with his book, Black Cracker, which is hilarious and amazing, and I can't recommend it.
Josh is a big
enough.
talent.
I was connected to Georgina Spelvin, to her profile. We had never met. And she was posting about how she had an autobiography. She was ready to go out with it and wanted to get it published. But every place she went, all the publishers were saying, well, you have to grant us basically total rights over everything, life rights. I mean, it was just, they wanted far too much from her. So she decided she was going to do it independently. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, I'm a publisher. I can work on this with you. And she was at that point in the game, like she was ready for that book to come out. So mostly I helped her get it into print and get it into distribution. I helped her get a website set up. Later, she said, I wish I had held out and made it a New Texture book, because we did events with her where she would come and read. And she's definitely part of the New Texture family. But no, total sweetheart.
And still with us.
Still with us. And I met some amazing people at her different barbecues she'd have, not people from the adult industry, but people from who you'd know from television and stand-up from the 70s and 80s.
Wow. So who was Georgina Spelvin hanging out with at a barbecue?
I mean, I don't know if you guys remember this improv group called the War Babies.
Nope.
They had stuff. They were big in LA. They had stuff on the Playboy Channel. Bart, oh shoot, I'm forgetting his name. 20 Million Miles to Earth, the little boy who discovers the Emer in the tube. Remember, that's in Italy. And then he was also played Little Ricky, I think, on
oh wow.
I'm blanking on his name now. Bart
I can't think of his name.
The thing about her barbecues was you just look around, you'd be like, oh, I know that face. Oh, I know that voice. You'd hear a voice behind you and you'd be like, I've heard that voice a million times on Norman Lear shows, etc.
So you went to a porn star's barbecue and you offended Rod Steiger. It's been a full life. You guys are visionaries. I'm glad you're finally here. The book is Be Italian. We're going to put this up on Patreon, and then we'll do some cleanup and some editing, and we'll put it out on social media. And we'll push the stuff hard because people should see it, and especially fans of this show. You know, are people after our own hearts and yours, and we share an obsession with all of this stuff.
Absolutely, yep, that's true.
Congratulations on all three books.
Thank you for having us. What a pleasure. What a thrill to be here.
Yeah, it's huge. We love the show so much.
These are the other two books too. To our listeners, I'm so bad at aiming this toward the camera. The last coloring book on the left. If you get Be Italian, do you guys sign these? Do you personalize them and autograph them before
If you get Be Italian from beitalianbook.com,
okay.
We do have signed editions that come out with an extra bonus Italian. So if you stay off Amazon or whatever and order it from beitalianbook.com, you get a secret bonus Italian.
Look at that, Gil.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm trying to find the last one for Gil to set him up. Oh, it's the extra large glasses. Where'd it go? John Turturro has played a lot of Jews. He's crossed over.
That is true.
He really has. The book's
Yes.
chronological, Frank, if you're trying to find somebody specific.
Gilbert, Walter Matthau.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Italian.
Not Italian.
Can you believe it?
Playing
the
a priest.
Hard to believe.
Take the boys out with a little Walter.
I'm an Italian. I'm an Italian gangster. I'm here to wipe you out because I'm a hitman.
Guys, this was a kick. Congratulations on all three books. Thank you for drawing us, for immortalizing us. Thank you for all the kind words about the show over the years, and glad we finally got to do it.
Thanks for having us.
Love
And
you.
Thank you.
And we'll